All right, so welcome back from the break. You're still watching The Morning Rush here on Metro TV with me, Desmond Okrekudan. So you could call me Decifrating the Star. When I mentioned earlier before the break, they've got a big conversation coming up this morning about the national identity today, and I've got two big men in the studio. I'm blessed this morning to begin my week on such a note. I've got Professor Kenneth Agyemang-Atifo, who is the Executive Secretary of the National Identification Authority, joining me in studio this morning, and also REUBEN TETTEH, who is Deputy Ambassador for ID4 Africa. We're talking about the national identity today. For many of you, probably have not heard about that, and so today we're going to break that down, expand, explain, give all the details you need to know about the national identity today, how it came about, and all of that. So stick and stay with us. We're live on Facebook at Metro TV Ghana, and also on DSTV channel 277. So let's get straight into it. Good morning and welcome to us. It's good to have you on the Monday morning like this. Yes, as I mentioned earlier, when I saw the flag that, we're going to have Prof coming, I thought it's going to be the usual suit and all that, but it's good to have you looking all casual and sporty this morning. So let's just begin with the movement, how this came about, because I'm reading that it's a movement in Africa. And if you could just explain that to us this morning before we get into how it relates to us as Ghanaians.
Well, thank you very much, and good morning to your viewers and listeners. I'm with my colleague here, Mr. REUBEN TETTEH, who is the Deputy Ambassador to the ID4 Africa Movement.
Okay.
Now, the ID4 Africa Movement is a pan-African movement, not an organization as such, but a movement that seeks to expand societal awareness of the importance of identity on this continent and beyond, and to encourage African nations to appreciate the importance of legal identity documents for people, expand the space for digitalization of identity, and expand the use of digitalized and other forms of identities for accessing public services, facilities, and opportunities, and finally ensuring that, consistent with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, particularly target 16.9, which provides that by the year 2030, every person in the world should have legal identity, including birth registration. You know, there are people who live their lives from, cradle to grave, who don't have any legal identity, no proof of their existence, and sometimes even roads are constructed where they were buried, and their remains are exhumed, and that's the end of it, as if they never existed or they never mattered. But identity is a fundamental human right, and having a legal identity provides or opens up the space for accessing all kinds of facilities and services. In the case of Ghana, for example, you look at the Ghana card, which the National Identification Authority has been issuing. You would see that it is linked to the ability of the individual to access services such as bank accounts, to open and operate a bank account, to register your SIM card, to purchase insurance, to get a driver's license and passport, policies of all kinds, and to access education and other social services. You cannot, after a certain point, possibly access even school feeding without Ghana card. You need to get a Ghana card when we have actually enrolled children, to access Kufuor bus and various kinds of services. For the adult population, it's obvious that the Ghana card has become that one-stop shopping center for identity. So it's extremely important. And this movement is working to expand this awareness across the continent, and get the technocrats in the identity space, the vendors in that space, to meet, and the national institutions that are involved in identity management to meet annually. Last year it was in Morocco, in Marrakesh. This year it was in Nairobi. Since 2014 it was in Abuja, and in 2017 it was in Namibia, where Mr. Tetteh and I had represented Ghana. So it's a pan-African movement, and this is what is. But Mr. Tetteh is the deputy ambassador, and
so he'll be able to
better able
and
to
even
speak
also prior to this movement, what were some of the challenges that we encountered as as Africans, as a people, when it comes to our identity?
So one of the challenges, if I may say, has to do with proper policy direction, proper legal framework, and also various kind of technology.
Okay.
So the movement actually gives a bigger platform where the subject matter experts, when it comes to the ID management system, bring on board. So usually at the AGM, all this, expertise from academia, from practice, and from policy, they all come together and share ideas. So basically it's about knowledge sharing. So the movement and the objective of the movement actually fill the gap when it comes to identity management or when it comes to the ID space, especially the challenges that governments in Africa were facing then.
Okay. So since technology has developed over the years, how have we been able to get ourselves into those spaces to make sure that our identity ecosystem or whatever that it is strong enough that nothing can permeate through any wrong, if I should put it that way?
Like I earlier on said, even Prof touched on that. Technology evolves, and the movement brings together the big players when it comes to the ID space. Okay. So you talk about the solution providers, the developers, and even the policy makers. So they do a lot of research into the emerging technologies and how best it meets the needs of Africans, especially when it comes to the ID management. So it's a movement which actually myself, even as a technical person, it broadened my scope of understanding when it comes to the technologies which can actually serve the needs of the people. So it has really filled in the gap in terms of knowledge, in terms of policy, in terms of legal frameworks, in terms of other operational requirements, which basically helps in the provision of ID.
Prof, we've initially talked about the bigger scope that is Africa. Now let's narrow it down to Ghana, the National Identity Day. If you could just share with us, even prior to the 16th of September, some of the things that had gone on to make sure that people are aware of this particular day and their identities and all that.
Yes, before I answer that, just in fairer and fuller introduction of my colleague, let me say that Mr. REUBEN TETTEH is also the data center manager at the National Identification Authority. So he is an authority. The technical matters that he's speaking to. But one of the things I myself so say is that for us as Ghana, we have found vindication in the platforms that the ID4 Africa Movement provides. Our laws, and especially LI 2111 of 2012, have forward-looking orientation, the strategies that are embodied. If you look at our motto, we say providing future solutions now. The things we envisaged in 2017 to go into the national identification system are the things that are being promoted by the ID4 Africa now. We did that way back.
So we're a step ahead.
We're a step ahead. Our legal framework is what everybody is gravitating toward. The technical infrastructure we have set up for the registration of people, number one, and for the verification of identities, number two, and the Ghana card itself, the chip embedded Ghana card, the robust technology that is contained or embedded in the chip, on the Ghana card. These are avant-garde. These are beyond the scope and contemplation of a lot of people. In 2017, we were in Nairobi this past May. And where we are is what all of these other countries are beginning to take the first feeble steps, tentative steps to try and reach. And many countries want to come to Ghana to see what it is that we have done or are doing in the digitalization of identity and the forward march. But the reason we're celebrating this, and it's the second year. The last year we marked it; it was first time, and it will explain why a lot of people are unaware of it. This year it also fell on a Saturday.
The Saturday, because I saw 16th and I realized that was on a weekend.
Exactly, it was on weekend, and so we are grateful for this opportunity to speak to the people about it. For us, it is an occasion for us to let the world know. Number one, that there is a movement called ID4 Africa Movement.
Okay.
And so, yes, that is doing the great things that Mr. Tetteh spoke about. And then number two, that our activities as NIA align very favorably with what is now the emerging trends. We have been leaders in the field, but we use this opportunity to also highlight the importance of the Ghana card and of the national identification system. The three components: the card itself, the process of registering people onto a national identity register, and ensuring the integrity and confidentiality of the data that we capture, and also ensuring that everyone who is entitled to register now is able to do that in order that they can access the services that are inaccessible without the Ghana card.
Ghana card.
You ought to be able to participate in the economic, political, and social space. And the Ghana card ensures inclusion. It ensures social and political inclusion. Without it, you cannot participate in all kinds of sectors. We know from the SIM card registration. We know from people wanting to obtain passports or driver's license or access all kinds of services, facilities, and opportunities that are customarily available to the public, that without the card,
the Ghana card,
So those who have registered but have not gone for their cards, ID Day provides us an opportunity to remind them of the importance of going for the cards. Those who have not yet registered but are 15 years and above, it provides us an occasion to encourage them to go and get a card in order to bring themselves into the committee of inclusion. And finally, for those who have not yet registered, who are under 15, to assure them that we at the National Identification Authority, we're going to ensure their registration very soon. We're going to do that in two phases. We have started already a piloting with Ghana, the Births and Deaths Registry Ghana, and the Ghana Health Service. A pilot project aimed at registering Ghanaians from age 0 to age 6. So, yes, and it started on the 1st of August, and it's across the country, targeted selected areas. When a child is born, the birth is registered by Births and Deaths Registry. When the child is, say, 6 weeks old, and it has been outdoored and named, because we are registering identity. So at that time, when the mother takes the child for a weigh-in, baby Dora or baby MFA would have an identity of her own, unique. Then Births and Deaths Registry will transmit data about the child's identity. So, for example, the name of the child, the place of birth, that is the medical, the facility in which it was born, time of birth, all those identifiers of the child, but also the identity of the mother via the Ghana card, and a live photograph of the mother, and a live photograph of the Ghana card. So there is no mistake about the ID number and
all of those things.
All of those things. And there is an electronic checking of the accuracy and identity and liveness of the mother and of the child. And when we are satisfied that this is a live human being, the mother is not dead, this is not a stolen baby, and all of that, then NIA generates a unique personal identification number for that child, and it is stored. It is also shared with Births and Deaths Registry and of Ghana Health Service. When the child is 6 years old, we will look for the child and issue the child with the Ghana card, the smart Ghana card that you have. There is consideration of whether we should give a 2D barcode card to the child to represent the registration, the child's parents, to represent the registration that has taken place. But the most important point is that we've started a process that will ensure that all Ghanaians from age 0 to infinity are captured. There is a gap because in mass registration, we started from age 15 and above. So those aged between 6 and 15, we're going to also begin, I hope later this year, their registration, and we'll be working in concert with the National Health Insurance Authority. It's one of our cognate institutions, sister institutions. Yeah. They have equipment similar to ours. They have personnel, they have cards. We're working out the modalities to commence the registration. We will work with teachers and schools and parents to go into schools and places where children are congregated, those between 6 and 14, and then register them in a thoughtful, systematic, well-programmed manner that won't bring stress to anybody. And ensure that we are all captured. And finally, that we will also commence the registration of Ghanaians in the diaspora.
Yeah, I was going to come to that.
Sure.
I was going to come to that because there's sometimes, some talks from those in the diaspora about having challenges doing all of that. How are you going to make sure that this next step, as you've mentioned, 0 to 6, 6 to 14, all of those people outside the country can do that, seamlessly?
Okay, so the 0 to 6, 6 to 14 that I'm talking about, and then those 15 and above in Ghana, that's the scheme I've set out. Then there is the Ghanaians in the diaspora generally.
Okay.
Now, the law requires that NIA works with Ghana mission staff abroad to register them. So we will not carry NIA staff from here to
abroad,
Washington or Berlin or Australia, but we're going to do that with Ghanaian mission staff.
Okay.
What it is that we have worked out the modalities, we have had the necessary consultations with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration. We are awaiting the release of funds so that we will train the staff. That shouldn't take a month. As soon as they are available, within a month maximum, we've done. And so if we get money today, the 18th of September, we could begin by the 20th or 18th of October, to register Ghanaians in the diaspora. There are technical issues. There are people who may not have somebody to vouch for them, but they have relatives in Ghana who have Ghana card. We'll set up a Zoom system or some electronic means of engaging so that our commissioners for oaths, and NIA has commissioners for oaths across the country, properly trained by the Judicial Service, who are located in our 292 offices, 16 of them regional offices, and 276 district offices. I should say that our district offices are coterminous with the constituencies. And so even though officially there are 261 district offices, NIA using constituencies, we have 276, including Seoul. And our people are over there. So a person who needs to be vouched for can be vouched for by a Ghanaian living in Ghana
with a Ghana card.
Yes, but our officer will conduct the interview with the two of them and establish the facticity of the claim that they are related and that this person is a Ghanaian, and the person in Ghana vouching can truly vouch that that person is a Ghanaian.
Okay, Prof. We have a few minutes to go. Let me get to Mr. Tetteh. Yes. A lot of concerns about the security of our cards and all that. I mean, I don't know if from your office you'll be able to assure Ghanaians this morning how safe the identity, all the details of the identity are with the NIA.
Thank you very much. From concept design to implementation, data protection and privacy is very key.
Yeah.
So the principles which applies to data protection and privacy was inculcated in the design of the whole infrastructure, and even the card itself. So even with the card, there are 3 layers of security. The one which on the face of the card, that comes with hologram, which even that one, you require some tools or technology to be able to read. And the next layer will talk about the public key system, which is on the chip itself. So the chip has to see it has been segmented. And every segment is protected by security keys. What it means is that I cannot, if with the partition that I'm giving to, for instance, DVLA, SNITs, and NHI. NHI readers cannot read beyond their partition. So whatever data is in there, in those partitions, there are keys which protect them. And even the card body itself, the hologram is special. There are security features which requires you use a magnified glass, you use Blu-ray and other technology before you can actually read.
Get to them.
Exactly. And even from the registration point to the back end, where the processing will be completed, all the data which is being pushed from the center to the back end is encrypted. So when it comes to security, like I said, even from the designing of the card itself, the design of the whole infrastructure, security is assured.
Okay. All right. So we've got to wrap it up. But Prof, I'm going to give you a minute to just add any other thing we didn't talk about.
One thing that I think is extremely important is the verification system. In addition to identification, we also do verification. We've created a platform that is robust, is secure, and it has been verifying people. We have done over 120 million verifications without a single hitch. So if you say this is Reuben and he puts his fingerprint or we swipe his card or whatever means we use to verify him, you can be sure that
that is Reuben.
That is what we're going to get. We've not failed, and the banks have all rolled on it. 25 universal banks, 250 or so rural banks, all the telcos and the fintechs and the rest of them, and it is working. And we encourage institutions that need or require verification services to contact the National Identification Authority, and we will have the appropriate legal and technical arrangements to ensure that they are able to get on board. And that is what I think the Electoral Commission, for example, has been seeking to do with the CI, that one day, you know, that dream of the Ghana card being used for electoral purposes and others would be realized.
Thank you very much, Prof, for coming in. Professor Kenneth Ajwanatefa is the Executive Secretary, and Reuben Tetteh is Deputy Ambassador for the ID4 Africa Movement, and also at the NIA. He's a big man there with the data team there.